Hey guys, Flary already here. Nice, good to see you, mate. Enzo also. Always the usual suspects. Appreciate you guys coming by. Sup, Elon back in favor? I mean, he's never really not been, but yeah, we can talk about it. This looks awfully bad. We'll just take another time frame. And it's gonna look better on that one. Audio video good? Nice, good to hear. So yeah, today's gonna be interesting. Finally, some bull action. So we'll talk about that. At least something to talk about. I'm not entirely sure how it's gonna play out, but I've positioned on the buy side at least for now. So we'll talk about that. Let me actually tweet this out real quick before I forget. Before I do that, I want to thank today's sponsor, Blockfolio. They still have the portfolio tracking that they've always used to have, and now they also have mobile trading on there. So if you want to trade on your mobile phone, that's the best place to be. So I can only recommend that. If you want to check them out, their links are in the description. Let me see. This should be fine. Okay. So we broke to the downside, right? You can go through the time frames. Monthly still the same old, right? Not much there. Oops, wrong way around. Next support 14K, right? But that doesn't really help us much, so we can ignore it. Unless we crash to 14K and then we can buy it, but until then, no real help. The weekly time frame broke down, right? Close below. The thing is though, and this is something that I've mentioned when, like in passing, when I talked with CL, is that we've broken this range to the upside before and then broke it to the downside. Now this could be the same thing, right? Where we break it to the downside and then at least like retest the upper boundary of it again. In general, I usually wouldn't want to take any long trades or any buys in this kind of, when the chart looks like this. The only reason why I've been interested in the first place is because sentiment's been turning really, really bearish. I've had people in my comments saying that a 1K pump is all it takes to like squeeze shorts, and that's more than enough to the downside, and it's just gonna be straight up down only, right? And people don't realize that markets don't move like this and like this. Markets move, generally speaking, they move like this, with like in a trending direction, right? Or they move down, and when they move down, they can be vicious, right? You can easily get something like this and then just keep on dumping, right? Downtrends are really hard to trade in general, and when you start expecting the chart to move in a straight line, that's when you get wrecked. So can't recommend that. But yeah, still chart wise, we're still in deep trouble, right? It's not looking good. And I mean, if we close this weekly below this zone again, I'll 100% get out. It's just, I think there's an opportunity to play a short squeeze. Not entirely sure if I'm gonna get it, but I mean, willing to risk some on like the sentiment low time frame trade, right? Because I mean, this is a breakout. I mean, could retest here and then go, but in general, like this is a breakout back into an old range, right? So that's technically bullish on the lower time frames, and that's plenty. I don't mind taking a trade there, for me anyway. Sad thing is I was golfing all day, so didn't really get like the first impulse, but got into the second one from like 31, and I had to chase it up a little bit towards 31.5. Still in your long, Don? yeah, not long, but I bought some spot. Don Elon Musk, Don better than Elon Musk. I mean, the guy is definitely a force of nature concerning markets, right? Man, that was boring. Billionaires worried about Africa. Yep, sure, high duck. Yeah, I didn't even watch it. I don't really care about the virtue signaling. The chart's more interesting right now. But Dawn, it just went up only for so long. Yeah, but that was basically on a narrative, on the inflation narrative. This is not like, and even this, right? You say this is up only. And in general, like down, you can see this, right? This is the downtrending market. This is the uptrending market, right? You can expect, I don't mind you expecting this on the upside, but if you're expecting this on the downside, then you're delusional. That's not what happens. This only happens during like the big crashes, and they are very rare. And usually they have some kind of setup towards them. Like for example, this support tested 1 billion times breaks down, right? Like this was a long time in the making. Usually like when you have breakdowns, they're not just straight down. And when you see people that are usually bullish claim that it's gonna go straight down, then you know like, okay, you're getting at least somewhere close to their capitulation point. So I mean that's basically like all my my buy is concentrated on. Problem is it's right into daily resistance right now. But, and that's a big but, it sounds so wrong. This is resistance, and we had a bearish retest, and that had a down move, and then momentum completely disappeared, and we engulfed that, right? So even though this is resistance, it's not, in my opinion anyway, it's not something that I want to be shorting on a bearish retest kind of basis, because I think the chances of this breaking to the upside is actually higher than it just continuing down. So much more likely to be a bear trap than anything else. This resistance, in my opinion, anyway. But we'll see towards the daily close, of course. Like if this completely pukes back down and it looks shitty into the daily close, I might reconsider. But right now, I don't mind this too much. And as long as this green box holds, like as long as we close above this green box, I think we're just gonna go higher. And then target-wise, 38K makes sense. And that's what I'm targeting. Hey Don, hope you're fine and not affected by the flood. Yeah, I'm not affected, but shit's fucking mental. Will Cred Monday ever start again, or is it gone forever? He's just sick of it right now. It's probably gonna come back at some point. This seems like a good spot to short right now. This top wick seems like good invalidation. I disagree, but I mean you can. Like in general, in a bear market, like you can trade these low time frame. Like you get like a swing point and you break it and then reject violently. It's just I think this is shit idea right now. Like the best kind of reason I can give you why I wouldn't even be considering to short is the momentum kind of game. And you can easily see this on a clean chart, right? Let me put out a clean chart. We put in like a support resistance level, whatever. Relatively accurate, right? You have support here, 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 right? The momentum to the downside, right? This was setting up for a long squeeze, right? This was setting up to fuck over the longs. And what happened instead is it squeezed to the upside, right? So the momentum's completely disappeared out of the dump, even though it closed below below support. So turned it into resistance and it just straight up pumped out of there. That's generally speaking not something that I want to be like shorting. Now it can obviously just, what can happen is that we start closing like at 37 or something, turn that back into resistance, and then it looks kind of garbage, right? But at this point in time, I don't really see the point. Like I bought because I think there's the momentum's just kind of gone. But I mean, it might return. Who the fuck knows? There's no like clear, okay, this is 100% going to dump or 100% going to dump. It's just not how this works. But I think like the momentum disappearing and it not breaking down when it had everyone by the balls kind of is good enough. Now that could, in theory, still happen. I'll be quite vicious to go down, start going back up again, and then start phasing out. But at that point, like if we lose 30k again, we want to not be in the trade anymore anyway. And that's pretty tight invalidation. And like I said, the target is quite high. Can it be a daily SFP? Not really, no. Because it didn't really take any significant structure, right? With an SFP, what you want to do, I can show you an SFP, a good one. They're most likely, in general, like you get SFPs to downside more often on the lower time frames. Let's do one on the lower time frames, right? So with like a swing failure pattern, you have like an important swing point, you undercut it, and then you start pumping, right? You can do the same here, right? It's even better. Like the lowest point, you nuke it, and then you undercut it, and you start rallying, right? In this case, where, like, which important point, like which swing point did this take out? Like you could say this one, but I mean, that's mighty shitty, right? Like that's not really even a swing point. Like if you want to like pin down the swing points, you have one here, maybe here, the most important one up here, right? So if you want to do like the SFP game, if anything, you could say, okay, this just ran into the news and then dumps. I'm down with that, but I mean the SFP argument I don't really like too much. Will you add to your position if we close above 33k? I'm more than happy with what I got. But I mean, I might consider it at that point. But probably not, because at that point, and that's why like I bought right now. If you buy into 33, 38 is quite close, and then your stop loss below like 29 gets pretty shitty if you think about it, right? So 33, stop loss down here, targets down like up here roughly, and that's already like a trade that like I'm not really happy with. So basically this has to hold here, and as long as it holds, it's bullish in my eyes on the lower time frames. And like I said, on the higher time frames, we have potential for squeeze. So C-pump vibes, I think it's gonna be weaker, but could easily go a few percent, I think. So yeah. And in general, like something I've noticed is that we have set an iron floor in the like 30k area, right? If you, I mean, round number, blah, blah, blah. But if you look at this, 30k, right? Hit it, basically hit it, and now went below it and immediately rallied back up. And I could see that range play one more time. But like I said, who the fuck knows? I don't. I think it's just a decent bet. That's why I'm taking it. Don, ETH BTC pumping as well. Why doesn't that concern you this time? It does. It does. I just think the squeeze to up here is not that big of a move. Like I'm not targeting 60k, right? I'm just targeting like 38 to 40k. And in that instance, this can happen in a day or two. Like that's what I want anyway. Like I want this to be done with like tomorrow or the day after. So like that can easily have both of them. Like if you expect this to trend, this is like the one thing that you do not want to see. But then again, like this isn't a pump per se. This is just a small movement, right? And the other altcoins, this is how other altcoins look. Like there's nothing there, right? So you can't really say all coins are pumping. They're barely moving up, if anything, right? So you gotta be a little bit like differentiate a little bit, but the criticism is well placed. I just think like there's a good setup here, so I took it. Okay, please answer this at your own will, but what did you think of Light's interview? I haven't actually watched it yet. I need to watch it still. Like for the people I haven't like heard, and I know like most people won't care, but like I'm playing in a golf tournament end of month, and I've never touched or like never really played golf before the beginning of this month. So I've been taking private lessons, been playing all day, every day, basically. So I've not had any time to do anything at all besides that. That's why like I missed this, like some of this pump. I would have bought earlier if I saw this. But yeah, I think in general, like I don't know, this just seems like bait. And the thing is, like, you gotta understand the viewpoint where I'm coming from, right? I traded 2018, right? I was the most bearish guy you could find on Twitter during this entire time, right? I called for a bear market after basically, or like during 17, 18K, it went a little higher. And then I got like basically confirmation again at 17, 18K, right? Then it broke down and I maintained my bearish stance the entire way down, yeah? I shorted this pretty much every time I could. And during like 18 and 19, I pretty much had like no or like almost no bad trades, right? But the few ones that I had were exactly setups like this. If I traded the exact same way that I traded in 17, I would actually be shorting this. But my experience from the market back then is telling me that the only way, like the only trades that I lost back then were trades that were exactly like this one, where I was bearish too early because I thought like this is a bear market, it has to go down. And then it went up another like 20, 30% and then went down. And that cost me quite a bit back then. And I'm not willing to repeat that mistake. So this time willing to take that bet. I still think we're in a bear market. I still think we're going to head down eventually. I just think it's a good setup. And back in 17, 18, like it was 18 basically, I almost always took this exact setup, SFP, blah, blah, blah. Disregarding the momentum play, disregarding that exact kind of argument that I made earlier. And from my experience, it's a shit trade. That's why I'm not taking it again. And that's why I'm willing to take the opposite side of the trade this time. Now, if I get stopped out of this, it's way more bearish than I thought. And then we're going to see 20K, I think. And if the thing is, like, I'm only interested in taking the long side or like the buy side right now. So if I get to buy, like if I get to stopped out, if this just does this, right, and I get stopped out, if I get to buy 20K again, I'm like, I'll take this. Now, it's always going to suck when you lose money, right? But I'm down to kind of take that trade, because if I don't, and this pumps from here into 38K and then shows like strength at 38K, like I can't buy 38K if it shows strength, even like it's range high, it's weekly resistance, right? But I mean, I'm down to hold my position for longer and then ride it higher, right? So like worst case, I get stopped out and I think it's going to 20K. Best case, I'm in a position that I can kind of ride and take a little bit higher than my target even. And best case is, which is funny because it kind of sounds weird, but best case is my entire thesis is wrong. I'm in a long trade and this goes like higher, right? Which could happen. I think it's unlikely. I think it's very, very likely that we're in a bear market, but I'm willing to kind of position otherwise when the setup kind of is there. And right now I think it's there. So that's why I took the trade. And if you disagree, I mean, I'm completely fine with that. I could see this do like some sort of inverse head and shoulders here. If it does, like if it stays up here all day and then goes towards like 30K tomorrow, I might buy even more. And take that risk. I'm down with it. Did Cred bully you because of your new golf hobby? He's been making subtle jokes about it, yeah. What's the rationale for looking at pairs with Bitcoin? When you're trading in altcoin, right? Like you want to be in general, Bitcoin is the most liquid, most kind of a risk-free asset, because I mean it's not going to rug pull you, it's not going to disappear. Bitcoin is here to stay, right? So you have like Bitcoin as less risky than the others and most liquid. So your benchmark in this market should be Bitcoin, right? In general, like if you buy anything but Bitcoin, you want to be outperforming Bitcoin, because you're going to have less, like liquidity wise, it's going to be worse. And two, the risk is going to be higher, right? So if you can't outperform Bitcoin, if both of those factors are in place, right, you're taking more risk, which should be like in your mind, like you're paying more, right? Something is more expensive to you if you buy it, and in general, it's more risk. Like if your altcoin performs 1-to-1 like Bitcoin does, right? Then if you just took Bitcoin, you didn't have the chance to get rug pulled, you didn't have the chance that there's any fatal flaw in the system, anything like that, right? You completely avoided that. So Bitcoin, even though it's like even if the price moves the same, costs you less because you didn't buy all that risk. Because whenever you buy, you also buy a risk, right? And Bitcoin is the same thing. You buy risk and your position. And so what you want to be doing if you're trading altcoins, you want to be outperforming Bitcoin. And if you can't do that, you're trading the wrong pair. And the only real good way to look at like whether you're outperforming Bitcoin or not is the BTC pairs. You can still trade the USD pair, but you should be pretty damn certain that your altcoin is going to outperform Bitcoin if you buy it. Because if it doesn't, you just bought a bunch of risk for no return. That's why. Please talk about risk per trade when using futures. How much do you allocate when you have good conviction? It entirely depends. If I'm buying and it's like there's a bunch of differences. If I have like no spot, right? Let's say I sold all my long-term holdings. I'm willing to risk much more, obviously. So it's like never like, okay, I could tell you, okay, risk per trade should be like 5% or whatever, but I don't really subscribe to that. Like I take more risk than that from time to time, and then I take much less risk than that other times. So like it's all fluid. You shouldn't, as a beginner, you should like probably risk a lot less, kind of get your feel for the market, and then go from there. So I mean, if you just started out, maybe you just risk 1% of your portfolio per trade until you have like an entirely, like you write every trade down, you log it all, and then you have like a year full of profitable trades. You know that you actually know what you're doing, and you know that you're not going to lose your mind, and then you can like turn it up a little bit and then kind of bring some individuality in it, like kind of tailor it to your circumstances. But there's no real blanket answer for that question. Don is bullish, the end is near. I mean, I'm not bullish. I'm just saying we're going to get a bounce in the bear market, is what I'm saying. So when you say 20K, do you mean 23 to 24K area? No, in this case, like I wanted to buy 23, 24, right? I wanted to buy this. But now that we've bounced before hitting that, I think if we head down, we're probably just going to nuke. And then I'm going to be buying below 20K, actually, like 19, 18, 17K. If this just straight up went down, I would have bought 23, 100%. But given it's bounced here, I think the risks are too high at 23, just blanket buying it. So I'm gonna be looking for buys at 23, but if I see like that the market wants to nuke more, just not gonna step in. Whereas before I would have, most likely. So yeah, I would have right now, like if it nukes again from here, I'm gonna be looking at 19, 18, 17k, kind of that area for a bounce. How do you scale into a position going over your risk? Do you add only when you raise your stop loss? I don't. Like, I don't add to my position like 90% of the time. Like, the thing is, when you're adding, right? And this is like something that Sailor's been doing. Let's say you want to be getting bullish. You buy this. And you go really light because you want to have confirmation or whatever, but you wanted to buy this support level or whatever. And then it goes higher and you're like, okay, I'm going to buy the next pullback a little bit harder. And then you add it and you raise your stop loss every time and you add every time. Now your average, every time you've added, rose obviously. So let's say you bought here a little bit, here a little bit, here a little bit. Average is up here now. You buy here and it does something like this and you're underwater already, your trade's not invalidated, you're in huge size, probably stopped out, like that's a shit trade. Now, if you just go heavy, once you actually like the level that you actually wanted to buy, then you don't have that problem, right? You're either wrong and it goes and it nukes you, maybe bounces after, but that's not your problem. I mean, you just get wrecked at that point. Sometimes you just do that. But like, you see the problem with that, right? You don't want to be like scaling into a position or whatever. That's bullshit. Like the only reason why you want to be scaling into position is, let's say you want to be buying an altcoin and it's illiquid as fuck. So you put in like orders at different levels. So like no one front runs your orders because you have so much Bitcoin and you want so much of that altcoin. And then it goes in and you scale into the position while it nukes. You don't want to be like doing this garbage, because like the point of the point where the opportunity and the risk is the lowest is this point down here. It's not here or here or here. Like the reason why I'm saying like I'm not like I wouldn't want to be buying 33k at this point is because exactly that, right? I don't want to be like adding to my position like way higher. If anything, I'd be down to buy, like add to it at like 31, a little bit below where I entered. I'm down with that. I'm not down with buying higher. Like if I wanted to buy higher, I would have just bought down here much more. Like if I want to get a bigger position at a worse price, why not just buy straight up? I don't get. Like most of the time, I don't get it. And if you want to be waiting for confirmation for your trade, why are you pulling the trigger early anyway? Might as well just wait for it then. What's the biggest loss you've ever taken on a spot position? I've never taken a loss on on a spot position. Like I literally can't remember one time. The only losses I've taken are on leverage. Like I never sold Bitcoin at a loss on spot. Not once. As far as I can remember, there might be a fringe case where I sold it like after half an hour for like nothing. But like I can't remember the last time I like bought Bitcoin and it didn't sell it higher. Like sometimes I sell it only a little bit higher, but most of the time I sell it higher. 100% strike rate on spot, yeah. On leverage, almost like, I mean, on leverage it's much closer to 50-50, but on spot, yeah. I mean, the thing is, I bought, for example, like if you want to have an example, I bought a shitload of spot into this dump and I felt like a genius in here. And I got like a huge fucking drawdown, but I didn't sell because I was like, okay, Bitcoin's pretty cheap down here. In fact, I bought ETH down here and leveraged up. And then I sold higher. So didn't take a loss on that. Like I obviously was down 20% at some point, but in general, like given the spot positions that I buy are usually Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's up a shitload. I mean, you would have to do like massive mistakes to be down on a spot position, right? Now, in this case, like if you talk about like 1% or 2 or 3, I mean, that's probably something I've taken, right? But like that's not really loss in these kind of instances. That's more like you pay in fees, pretty much the exact same thing. But like a large drawdown on spot, I usually don't take, because I usually like either get out pretty much immediately when I see, okay, it's not doing what I want it to, or I just hold it, and then eventually it usually goes up. Who's the speaker? It's Don Alt from Twitter. And sending money to the wrong address. I mean, yeah. And on altcoins, that's a different story. I thought you were talking about Bitcoin. On altcoins, there must have been like a couple, but nothing really terrible, because like I said, I usually sell those. Like altcoins, I usually always sell before they even get negative. Like I buy and they immediately go up. And if that doesn't happen, I usually get out relatively quick. Now I was talking Bitcoin. Yeah, for Bitcoin, like anything significant. And I mean, the thing is, like right now, like I can only trade spot, right? But usually when I'm trading, I don't trade spot. Like I buy and then intend to sell higher with when I'm like back in the day. Now I can't like leverage trade anymore, so I have to kind of trade spot. So it's a little bit different. But so far, I mean, ever since that rule got implemented, not really had a loss so far. So are you 100% in every time you buy spot? No. It depends on the setup. And I mean, this time, like I didn't buy too much, but enough. And given that my thesis is we're in a bear market, right? If I didn't think that, I'd probably buy more. Why can't you leverage trade? Because it's a pain in the butt tax wise. In Germany, you have to pay taxes on both wins and losses. So if you're not like a 95% LAPI trader, that's a shit trade-off. So you could make 400k in a year, but you have like let's say you have $1 million, right? You make $1 million in winning in wins, but you have like 900k's in losses. So like you win 100k that year in general. And then you have to pay taxes on pretty much everything, then you're actually down that year, and that's shit. You don't pay tax on spot though, do you? Yep, that's why I'm trading spot. But yeah, that's it. I mean, Bitcoin, doesn't look bad to me right now. Like I said, momentum faded and it's into resistance. So I mean, if you're buying into 32k, I think it's a little bit more risky. At this point, like makes sense to just give it some time. One thing that I really didn't want to see, and I mean, I pretty much bought and then went out, made some food, is exactly this. So I see like where the people in the comments and like in the chat are coming from, because it's something that you don't want to be seeing, like a squeeze to the upside that gets immediately faded, even more so into news, right? So that's if you're like on the defensive side of things, like that's already an exit signal, right? It's just for me, like I don't have, like I sold all my spot, all my long-term holdings, even my suicide backs into 60k. I sold a bunch on the way up already, and then sold the rest of it pretty much in that red box. So I feel like super naked, and don't mind like buying every dip I can that I think that actually has promise. And that was back here, that was in here, that was somewhere in, I think, here. And I didn't buy these ones because I mean they just look garbage every time. And now I bought this one. Now this could just roll over, and I know that, but I mean the profits of the previous 3 buys basically cover that several times over. So even if it's a loser, I mean, the crab or like the bear market got me then, and I'm fine with that. I'm willing to buy lower then. And that's, that's that. The 4-hour candle is gonna close horribly looking. Yeah, but I mean, that's always gonna happen. When you have a squeeze like that, it's always gonna close bearishly. It's just a question of, is it gonna have any follow through? Like if it bleeds down and then pumps from here, it's gonna look fucking amazing, right? Like, yeah, but yeah, I mean, the candle itself isn't looking too pretty, that's true. It's just, it's a 4-hour candle, right? I like, on the bear side, or like being bullish, like the thing that scares me much more, if this turns into resistance, like if we close below there, that's scary as fuck, because then you have like daily, like double resistance. So that's not good. And this resistance being here, like those are the two scary ones. The 4-hour close doesn't really matter. So I mean, it's gonna be an interesting time watching the daily close. I mean, I'm not going to. I'm just going to go to bed right after the stream and then pray to God that I'm not fucked tomorrow. But yeah, that's my plan anyway. See tomorrow morning how the daily closed. See if it closed shitty and then reevaluate. Until then, like I said, I'm willing to take pretty much anything that I think holds any promise, because I'm very, very light in crypto. And that's like, this is literally the first time that I've been this light. I can't remember the last time where I was completely out of the market. That was basically down here somewhere. And now it's like basically here. But like I said, it's not like I sold everything here. I sold all the way and then sold the complete last rest of it up here. When are you invalidated on this trade? If you lose 30K on a closing basis, I don't like it too much anymore. Don, you fought me so much, you don't realize. Very happy to hear that. Like, I hate when people tell me they made so much money because they copy traded me. Like, that's just low effort. But if I can teach anyone anything useful that they can use to kind of make their own career, I mean, that's the one thing that I do like to listen to. Don, when you exited, why didn't you tweet it out, brother? I'm pretty sure I did. I mean, you can ask the chat if I did or not, but I'm pretty sure I did. And we talked about it on stream. The Coinbase shit was pretty telling. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure which. I'm pretty sure I talked about it, but no idea. Like, it's a long time ago. But I can look through my post history. I'm gonna have to anyway to claim some clout. Like, yeah, it's gonna be always nice to look back like a year from now and see if I can find anything that I can claim clout on. It was probably overcrowded tweets during that time. Yeah, I mean, I tweeted a lot because we were like, and everyone tweeted a lot because we were going crazy. Don, fucking legend, no matter your position on this market, you're a fucking legend. Big love from France. Appreciate it, bro. I mean, it's just is what it is, right? Try our best, see how it goes. So that's Bitcoin. Not too much to it. Like I said, I want to see this just have some follow through. Mostly a momentum play. If that momentum doesn't kick in, at least on Friday or Saturday, I'm going to get out on Monday, because the thing is, if we close below this box, it's fucked, I think. Like, I don't care about anything if we close below this box. Like, that be the death sentence, I think. Wow, how many dots are there? Trading view can be so annoying. Yeah, if we close below this box, I think it's fucked. And then we're going to 20K. So we can prepare for that. If we close back inside the box, that's a different matter. And then I think we can go easily back to 38K. If it plays out really bullishly, I think there's a chance to go to 45. And at that point, I'm going to be selling again. And then if it goes higher and establishes a base there, I'm gonna be rebuying what I sold. So how is the golfing? It's so much fun. Like I'm actually surprised how much I enjoyed, but I somehow tweaked my neck, so I can't look up, which sucks. Like hurts real bad. I'm gonna have to like book a massage session tomorrow before I go golfing again, because yeah, it's not much fun. Wow. There's a guy in chat that's named Donald's bullish twin. Well, who's the twin now, bro? With a happy ending? Nah, man. Nah. Like, I mean, I enjoyed the jokes, right? But it's kind of shitty. Imagine like you're a girl working at a massage parlor and people just keep on making that joke. It kind of sucks, right? So try not to be too insensitive, whatever. Like, it's a shitty thing to say to those people that work pretty hard in their profession, I think. What if volume comes back in? I think if volume comes back in, it's gonna be to the upside. Like, if anything, like volume comes in either when we nuke like this, like in a straight candle, or to the upside. I don't think it's gonna come in during a bleed like this. What do you think, quick or long, like 2018 bear market is next? I think it's gonna be a long one. Again, I think it's just gonna be just like this one. And in general, like, I said this back then and people were laughing at me, but I was like, even back then I was, okay, this is a range roughly. Roughly, like, this is the range. We overshot it a little bit, we undershot it a little bit, but treat it as a range. And I traded it like that for years, right? Like, that was basically how I traded this thing. Like, people were talking about, okay, how the fuck do you know when to buy, when to sell? I literally just treated this as a range, and then just sold whenever I got close to the highs, and then bought whenever it got close to the lows. And obviously, in here, like, I got bearish in here, closed my shorts in here, but didn't get as bullish as I should have. Like, I should have bought a shitload instead of just closing shorts. And then it broke out, and that was when my range theory was invalidated, right? So like at that point it was up only. And I think this is probably going to do the same thing where you have like this is an like overshot in here, and then you're gonna get an undershoot like somewhere in here, maybe in here, and then you're gonna go sideways for a bunch, and then you're gonna go up, and then you're gonna get the next trash probably relatively soon after, do the same thing again. That's kind of what I think. But I mean, who the fuck knows, right? It's Bitcoin, can't do anything. But I'm gonna, like, this is kind of my feeling how the market is gonna play out. And I mean, everyone should be happy with it because I think it's gonna go higher. It's just gonna take a while. Is there a reason why you're adverse to shorting a rally in what is presumably a bear market? Yeah, because I don't have much Bitcoin. Usually I try to short, like I have a bunch of Bitcoin, and then I take a short that is like roughly equal size, maybe a little bit bigger, to kind of cover myself. Maybe like double as big, but that's like a lot already. And then try to close that as soon as possible, and then have more Bitcoin. Now this is essentially gone, like, so this makes no sense to me. Like, when I think this is gonna go in like up in the long run at some point anyway, when I have none of it, I mean, I don't want to take more risk by shorting it on top. And like I said, tax wise it's a little bit of a headache. I could get around it, but right now, like, why would I? Like, I don't have much Bitcoin to kind of short hedge. Like, I don't need to. Do you think that any altcoin can unlink itself from Bitcoin moves? At some point, sure. Like long term, I don't think so. Like long term, Bitcoin does this. Most other altcoins are gonna do like either form of this or form of this. Short term, Bitcoin does this. You're gonna see an altcoin do this, and then do something like that. And then short term, people are like, oh, it's like unlinked, or even like during down moves, right? Let me actually remove all of these real quick. During down moves, Bitcoin does this, and then altcoin does this, and then does this, right? And then people are like, at this stage, they're like, okay, this altcoin is uncorrelated, and then it dumps straight after. So I think long term, no. I mean, at some point, maybe if there's like an altcoin that does something amazing, but right now, no, really. Top crypto analyst Doug says next bull market will be in 2024. Yeah, I think that's actually quite bullish. Not entirely sure if I would actually like blanket agree to that, but I think that's like the most reasonable way to look at it anyway. But I mean, we could just be heading down, go into like the 12 to like 20K range, and then spend there like 5 years. I wouldn't like be opposed to that either. Like the thing that you have to realize is that like at 60K, Bitcoin got actually quite close to the gold market cap. It obviously like quite close, didn't reach the 50% mark or anything, but still like it got reasonably close for being something pretty new. So like if you compare the two to each other, like gold with the history it had, and then Bitcoin with like being relatively new, I think it makes sense that it takes a while. For every percent it nears itself, I think it's gonna get slower and slower, right? So you have Bitcoin something do like go like this, or like in general, like Bitcoin, I would actually do say the opposite. Bitcoin kind of went like this, and I think that's gonna be how this is gonna play out, right? Where it's gonna slow down, you're gonna get less and less gains, but it's still gonna perform really well. And then at some point, you're going to see gold fuck off because gold's stupid. And then Bitcoin kind of outperform it for a bit. And then you have your new paradigm. But I think it's going to take a long, long time. And I think like we're somewhere in here or like in here where it starts flattening out. And I think that's going to be the case for the next few years. And I could see that be the case for the next 10 years too. Do you consider that we are always charting against something that is always losing value? I think that's just a fucking meme. Like people talking about like dollar going to zero or whatever, I think it's a meme. Like in general, inflation is a good thing. Like if you didn't have inflation on the dollar, right? What would happen basically is people would hoard the dollar, and then the rich would get richer and richer and richer, and it's so fucking easy to get rich, and you have like problems with money supply and with like in general, like it's a shit. Like most currencies that are deflationary are pretty shitty, in my view anyway. So you want to have an inflation, it's just you don't want to have it run away, right? So yeah, you're charting against something that is losing value. That's why this is going up, but it's only losing value relatively slowly, and it kind of has to by design. Inflation takes a big part of driving the economy. I mean, inflation is much more important than people think. It's just when you get like stupid inflation that runs away where it gets like dangerous. But like in general, like if you didn't have inflation, the world would be a shitty place. Never said it was going to zero, just losing purchasing power over time. Yeah, but I mean, that's like every currency. And that's like how currency should be, in my opinion anyway. Because the moment you get like currencies that go up only, right, or deflate, like you would never want to be spending them. You want to be holding them. And then you have like a big problem if everyone just keeps on hoarding, right? You don't want to have like people hoard wealth. You want to have them take that wealth and invest in something. The problem is that you get like this, like right now where we have like people investing into absolute fucking garbage. And yeah, that's a problem. But I mean, there's bigger problems when you don't have like inflation. In my opinion anyway. And I'm no expert on this, but it's just like it makes a lot of sense. So yeah, that's Bitcoin. We can talk about altcoins for a little bit at least, because I've went on around for way too long. ETH is kind of chilling at support still. Like ETH is holding quite well. It's looking, it's not looking good. It's not looking bad, right? It made a lower high here, made a lower low, but I mean nothing really big. I wouldn't want to be bearish or bullish on this. Like I have no idea where this goes, right? With like Litecoin, for example, I'm pretty sure that's just gonna go down. With like a bunch of these coins, besides ADA is pretty difficult as well. But like with a bunch of those, like it's clear where they're headed. With ETH, not so much. Like I don't want to be bearish on this, but I wouldn't want to be bullish on it either with the situation that we have in Bitcoin. Whereas like this either holds or we go fuck off. And if Bitcoin goes to 20K, this goes and crashes hard. We're gonna do like this again. So you're either bullish Bitcoin and bullish ETH, or you're bearish Bitcoin and bearish ETH. Can't be anything but that. Even on the pair. The thing is like ETH could play out bearishly on the Bitcoin pair, even when Bitcoin plays bullishly. So it's kind of like a shit situation where I don't really care too much about the altcoins. But this is not looking bad chart-wise. Like, you look at this, it's a decent chart. It's just not something that I think is particularly good to trade right now. So I avoid it. I much rather trade Bitcoin. And that's kind of like the case for all of these. We've had like a little bit of a Dogecoin pump today. This is hilarious in its own right. Look at these. Have you seen a chart like this before? I have. First one that gets it right is a G. Where have you seen this price action before? Hit me up with it. I want to see who gets it first. Where it's like a pump into full retrace into nuke, into pump, into full retrace into nuke, pump, full retrace. Shibby1510 says, looks like XRP. Good shit, man. Well done. I mean, a bunch of people got it right after you, but you were the first, so props to you. That's exactly how XRP played out in 2018. If you want to look at it. I mean, even this one, hilariously enough. But you look at this on the daily, it's better on the lower time frames, but here you go. Let's remove all of this. Yeah, it's better on the 4 hour, but you get the point, right? We've had that the entire way down. And we've had it in here too. Like that's literally how XRP always worked. Like it's weird how it always goes like that. This one, the closest to current price action. So, I mean, Doge might be different because it has Elon or whatever, but price action wise looks really similar. This current one is pretty much Elon pumping it again live on air, and it's not holding much. So Don, how do you handle it if you just woke up and your spot bag nuked? Do you just become a holder and wait it out? I mean, the spot bag is in general like a holding bag, right? So yeah, but most of the time, like right now, for example, I have an invalidation for my spot bag. But yeah, back here, right? When I bought big time spot again down here, for example, like that was the last time went way too heavy. Like I had like basically my entire net worth in Bitcoin at this point. I was freaking the fuck out. Didn't have much fun in life. Because I was like, if this breaks down, I've basically wasted this entire time, because I bought Bitcoin, stacked Bitcoin during the run up, but like, I mean, not as much as I could have. Stacked Bitcoin on the way down by shorting, and then basically sold it all before the breakdown, and then bought way too early in here and freaked the fuck out, because I spent like pretty much 16 hours a day sitting at the charts, freaking out about price action, not spend any time with family or friends, right? Like, I just wasted my time basically. Like, if this went to zero there, I would have just basically wasted the previous years. So went all in there, pumped. I sold on the way up a little bit, sold quite a bit in general. But that bet played out pretty nicely for me, right? But yeah, back then I woke up, I saw Bitcoin go down. I'm like, fuck, well, I mean, if it goes to zero, it goes to zero, right? Now, ever since then, I've kind of stopped doing this, because I don't want to go back to zero. Like, that's too much of a change for me. So I'm never going to go back even close to that. Like, I'm more than happy to have less than 20% of my net worth in Bitcoin, or crypto in general. Back then, like I said, pretty much had all of it in. So what I do nowadays is I just buy whenever, and then get like more of my net worth in when I think it's cheap. But I'm more than happy to buy and then sell, and then like see this and then buy back here and ride a little bit of it more, like to the upside, and then sell higher if I can. Like, I'm not in the right hard, like die in the Bitcoin camp anymore. Like, if it goes to zero, it goes to zero. And it would not change my life too much, because I just couldn't stand that anymore. But back in the day, like, that was how I played, right? And never want to go through that again, because it's fucking depressing. I was pretty bullish in here, but still, like, it was one of the most stressful times of my life, having gone through the bear market and then being basically at the mercy of the market. Never want to do that again. Don angry when he made only 80% of the optimal move. No, like, during this up move, a shitload of people outperformed me. Like, I was in Bitcoin, I leveraged long it a little bit, but not much. Like, pretty much leveraged it like long the last bit, from like 5 to 10, and didn't go as heavy into the altcoins as I could have. I mean, I made a bunch of Neo and Walton Chain back in the day, but like, a friend of mine outperformed me by 5x. He lost it all in the bear market, but like, I was pretty sad that like I couldn't keep up with him. We basically had the exact same portfolio size. Like, I bought in, and he started with 10x more than I had, and then it ran up. Like, my Dogecoin ran up, so I was like basically on par with him, because he had good altcoins as well. And then at some point he outperformed me by 5x, and then lost 95% in the bear market while I kept it. But yeah, could have done that better. I'm in general, like, there's a lot of people that outperform me during these moves. There's very, very few that get to keep their money during these, and I like consistently get to keep my money during down moves. But during the up moves, like, I don't capture as much as I should. Making fortune on crypto? Yeah, I mean, you can. I did. I mean, fortune, strong word, but plenty to live off of. What's your opinion of a whole Bitcoin stock? I think it's the best thing that you can do in general. For most people, trading isn't it. Like, you shouldn't be, like, most people shouldn't even be wasting their time trying to trade. They should just be buying and holding. And most people would have outperformed. Like, there's this guy in the Discord that I'm in, that always tries like to kind of trade the market, and he always like consistently gets it wrong. And if he just bought and held, like, he would have had so much more money, much less stress, and And I mean, nothing to show for it, right? And I think that's gonna be kind of the case for most people. Some people have like a knack for trading. Some people are like determined enough to make it in trading. Most people just shouldn't be doing it, I think. From when you started trading, how long did it take you for you to become profitable and do it full time? So like my journey started with Dogecoin in like 2014 to 15, somewhere there. Would have to check up on the wallet to see when exactly. But yeah, I bought Dogecoin, sold that somewhere in 16, 17, I think. And when was it? Yeah, bought Dogecoin somewhere in here, I think, or somewhere in here, or even somewhere in here. Somewhere, I would have to check the wallet. I don't know, like pretty low though. Got to sell it during this massive pump, basically. And so like that was my first trade in quotation marks. So my first trade was profitable and like kind of carried me into the position that I was in. So like I was pretty much profitable from the get-go. But I got really lucky because I kind of started out into like one of the biggest bull runs, right? Like if you look at this, like this just literally just went up only. Like I was holding mostly and then just started with that mindset and was pretty lucky. Like that's good timing, right? If you look at this, if you're kind of on the long side of things, like you don't really have to do much to be profitable, right? And then I got pretty damn lucky that I had like a good feel on this 20K top. And from there I was pretty much in down only mode. And that was when I learned how to like properly short, how to kind of hedge, how to do all of that kind of stuff. But I mean, if you look at this, like if you look at this from like there all the way to 3K, if you're kind of thinking the market is going to go down, you can't really do much wrong, right? As long as you don't go too high leverage. So I nailed those two kind of directional kind of bets that I had. Like my thesis for the market was just right on both of them. So it was pretty hard to kind of fuck it up. And during that time, I just learned how to trade properly. And that's been helping me during the rest of it. But yeah, I know that's not going to be the normal kind of story, because most people don't start at the bottom of a bear market if they have nothing to do with the market. I just got pretty lucky timing with the Dogecoin buy way back, and then yeah. So if you get the market, like the people that got the market direction right, that got in at 10K, like you didn't really like have to do anything. You don't have to be a good trader to be profitable in here. It's just the question of can you keep it during like the downswing. But yeah, normally it takes quite a while. And normally I would tell people that you shouldn't be like trading with your entire portfolio. And to be accurate, like I didn't trade I didn't trade on leverage for basically this entire move to like 5K, then traded a little bit on leverage towards 10K, and then thought like, okay, this is way too crazy. This moved so much that you didn't need any leverage at all. And I think it's the same here, where you don't really need to use leverage at all. And you don't need to trade much when it's up only. You only need to start trading when it's actually trending down, because then you have to protect yourself from the downtrend. Because as much as it's fun to ride 3K or 4K to 60K, the pain, like you're going to have less fun riding this than you're going to have pain riding this. Trust me. And I mean, you can soul search if you want to. Like you could be 10 times richer now than you were down here, and you're going to still be in more pain than you were back then, or like in general, like then you felt euphoria in here. It's just how this works. Like you kind of get used to your portfolio balance at the highs, and then it drops and you start panicking and you start feeling like shit. And then you start like doubt creeps in. You're like, okay, I should have sold, whatever. I've seen it all, and just how the human mind works, right? Losses always hit harder than wins, and that's why you need to protect yourself at least a tiny bit during the trending down market. So yeah, I hope that helps. I mean, it was kind of like a weird stream where we just talked like a bunch about other stuff while Bitcoin kind of nuked. Dude, this is gonna suck so hard if it's just gonna straight nuke down. But I think it's still a good setup. Actually, gonna give it some time, see how it looks tomorrow morning. Like I said, like the thing is, when you're trading these ranges, like when you can kind of bag a couple wins, you can, at least for me, I don't mind like having on the tail end of the range, having one loser. I mean, it sucks, but I mean, if I take the trade down here and it doesn't play out, such is life. But I think this is still pretty good trade to be had. 31 to 38. Basically, like the trade that I'm taking basically is this. Roughly this, with like the added benefit that if we start losing like the support, I get out. So like realistic risk is somewhere like that. So I risk like 3% on that trade to gain 20. I mean, I'll take that trade any day of the week. Why did you say that Litecoin was easier to confirm that it was going to fall? Because Litecoin market structure looks like shit. Look at this. This is a downtrend. Like this is... Let's put it on Bitfinex. I still had it on there. Look at this. This is in general like a downtrend. Like ever since inception, this has been trending down. It made a high here and never reclaimed that. And you can see that it's much more easy. Like this is easier to say that it's gonna be going down than this, because if you look at it realistically, ETH BTC, Bitfinex not much better. Let's do Bittrex. I know they were early. Oh, look at that. That played out pretty nicely. That's a very old chart. Jesus fuck. But yeah, if you look at this. Now, which one do you prefer, right? And it should be, the answer to any trader should be fairly obvious. Like, do you want to be buying... Do you want to be buying this? Or do you want to be buying this? Like, which one do you guys want to be buying? Like, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. And then recent price action is obviously better on ETH as well. But like, even macro-wise, like, which one do you want to be buying? And that's as simple as it is. Thanks, Don. Great stream and chat. Appreciate it, man. Someone said like the video in the chat, and I like that comment. So yeah, if you like the video, hit it. Always appreciate that. Strokes the ego. Was great as always, Don. Good luck with the golf tourney. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. What would invalidate your bear point of view in the coming days and weeks? I mean, right now I'm expecting higher, right? So for the short term anyway. It's just for the grander scheme of the market. And this is why, like, honestly, that question is a great question, because you're like, okay, you expect the bear market, where are you wrong, right? And the answer is it's fucking impossible to tell. That's why I'm like fishing for the bottom entries, because like usually when I have like a bear market, like for example in 17, right? That was pretty obvious. You had a breakdown here. You had a breakdown here. If you want to make it like this, fine too. If you want to make it like somewhere down here, it's fine, right? But like roughly here, you had like a range. You broke that down. You got back above here. It's bull market again. You could make the same argument for right now, go back into the 50Ks, and I don't see that as a bad invalidation, right? I'm probably gonna be looking for buys if we get back into the 50K range. Like, I think at that point, the bear market is probably invalidated, but it's really hard to tell. Back then, it felt much, much easier to me. So the main reason why I'm fishing for these entries is because I'm like, there's a chance I'm wrong, right? I mean, this has been in a massive bull market. There's a chance I'm wrong. So I'd much rather buy the lows, because I have a plan for if this breaks down. I know exactly what to do if this breaks down. If it breaks down, I'm going to be buying 20K, going to be selling the bounce, and I'm going to be buying 14K. And that's my plan. And I'm going to be like making a bunch of money with that, right? But what do I do if it breaks up? And that question is much, much harder, because if it breaks up, it's probably just going to squeeze past 40, not going to get a retest entry, and then it's going to squeeze higher, right? So the reason why I don't mind buying shitty looking charts, and I mean, this chart has been looking completely garbage since basically the Coinbase launch, and Coinbase listing. I don't mind buying this because I have much less of an idea what I want to be doing if it goes up than when it goes down. And so I just look on the long side, because if I'm wrong on that, I know I'm going to be wrong and I know where to buy next. And if I'm wrong on the bear thesis, I'm going to be stuck with my hands in my pants. So there you go. But yeah, I think 50K is pretty good in validation. It's quite far away though. Simple. We like the duck. We like the video. I don't make the rules. I appreciate it. So are you buying 31K or 29K at this stage? I'm not gonna be buying 29. I think at that point you're already wrong. If anything, this is kind of the last stance. Like, this is the last stand. 31K. If that gives, we're fucked. But the 51K level is literally the level of where we would sell off for a real long-term bear market. Or do you view it differently? Like, that's the thing. I think I view it differently, because I think it's too high up to be still a bear market. But you could make a good case for it. You could make a case for a complacency bounce up here and then a lower high and then round out. So if you want to be buying above 50K, you might be buying the top, and then you get fucked. And the downside is much more easy to handle. So I don't mind buying the lows and then seeing where it goes. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. Okay, I think that's more than plenty for today. Appreciate you guys sticking with me, even though like we went off the rails a little bit. I want to thank today's sponsor again, Blockfolio. Their links are in the description if you want to check them out. Like I said at the beginning of the video, they do like mobile trading, and they also let you watch your portfolio if you want to do that. So check them out. Like I legitimately think like if you hold altcoins, it's always good to know like which ones, how many, and where they are. So even if you don't trade, it's a pretty good tool, I think. So knock yourself out. Like I said, the link is in the description. And yeah, thanks for coming by, and we'll see each other on Friday. So yeah, have a nice evening, have a nice week, and till then, bye bye. Mobile trading is the worst. I mean, depends. It depends, but generally speaking, I would advise to kind of trade on your computer as well. But if you absolutely have to do it, I mean, might as well do it on the best platform possible, right? So yeah, I'm off. Bye bye.